Well, as an individual who's been incarcerated, I want to start by explaining my story because it's hard to understand why someone was incarcerated without understanding their story. You can understand from the police perspective, but you can't understand it fully and be able to judge it fully based off of what you're seeing in the newspapers. So it's kind of similar to what's going on today. Into today's society where people are just being accused of committing crimes that they've never committed, or just because they were in the vicinity of the situation that they had to be a part of as a black male in most situations, and in my case, is one of those situations. So as an individual, I was one night I was hanging out with my brother for his birthday, and we went to the club in Baltimore City, which is where I'm from. Most people from Baltimore understand how the police officers work, how the justice system in Baltimore City works. Is a brutal system where it's never been one to be nice or polite towards black males or black females in general, especially if you're from the inner city where I'm from. And we were out partying, having fun for his birthday, getting drunk, taking a bunch of shots, just enjoying the night. And after the club let out, there was a bunch of chaos going on. Police officers fighting people, beating up females, beating up males, macing everybody that was in their area or their vicinity, trying to just neutralize the situation. But to me, it felt like they were trying to control the situation the way they wanted to, and that was with violence rather than just grabbing a hold of someone, putting cuffs on them, and laying them in the street. Because when they wasn't doing that and they were trying to fight the people, people were literally trying to like run past the police and punch them and keep running. Like you had multiple people doing that. Some of the guys got caught, and some guys were just saying that they were just running from the police because they were scared. But at the same time, police officers in the Baltimore City, they don't care what it was. You was in that area where the chaos happened. You was a part of it. No matter who you are or anything, they feel like they have the authority to say you were there, you was in it, which is a pretty messed up situation because it shows authority abusing their power rather than taking things for what they are or being factual about things and thorough in their investigation of how it happened. So as it let out, I walked to my car. My brother friend, he came with me because my brother told me to make sure I got to my car safe. So I got to my car and I drove around the block looking for my brother to go get him because I didn't to make sure I was gonna follow that car. So I didn't see him. Then I see them walking up the street. Him and his friend, they get into a fight with someone. And then I stop my car and I get out. A shot goes off out of nowhere, right before I went to go over towards the guy to fight, help my brother, because the guy was 6'2", and I'm 6 foot, so I'd have bettered out in the fight rather than my brother and his little friend because they're like 5'9", 5'11". So after that, I got back in my car after the shot went off because everyone scattered. I got in my car. His friend got back in the car with me. My brother ran down the street with his friend, and then I pulled off looking, and I see a guy fall on the corner onto a bunch of females as I'm looking. So I'm like, something just happened. I think he got hit. I think he was the one that got hit by that bullet that went off when I heard that gunshot. So I feel like after I made that turn, that's when it went a blur for me because then I seen my brother getting locked up by the police officers. They had him in cuffs and everything, him and his friend. And as I was stopped at the stop sign, police cars flew by me. And as I'm looking, they let him go, and I pull off. I want to go, then I leave. And I go back to school. Then later on, police officers from Baltimore City called me up, asking can they meet and talk to me. I said sure. Like, what about? And then they told me it was about an accident that I got into, a car accident that I got into, and that they needed me to come help with, well, not cardiac accident that I got into, but that I witnessed one, and they wanted me to come down to help give them some information. So I was like, sure, we can come talk about my car. And gave them that specifically. They came and talked to me, and they had 3 people with them, a College Park officer and 2 detectives from Baltimore City. And they had me in a triangle area, like we were making a diamond with all 4 of us there. And as I'm talking, he asked me if I would come down to the station and talk to him. I said, no, what's wrong with talking now? You guys asked to talk. I said I'll talk about my car, and we're talking. So then the one detective who asked how old I was, he asked me, he was the head detective, Detective Hood. He said, how old are you? I said, I'm 19. And he was like, well, why don't you want to come talk to us at our office? I said, because I told you guys I could talk here. And then I said, let me call my mom, to just in case they tried to say I said something that ain't happened or anything like that. Or if they did try to take me in custody, my mom would know where I'm at. Or specifically, if I was going to agree, I wanted her there. So I said, if my mom can come, let me call her. So I pulled out my phone to go call her. So I didn't get an answer. Then Officer Stanball asked me, and Detective Hood asked me at the same time how old I was, while Detective Hood was creeping behind me. So I got a little suspicious and realized that I knew what he was trying to do, because I already know how police officers are in Baltimore. They try to take you into their custody by taking you by surprise and just locking you up and taking you under your will. Like, they're not allowed to do that, especially if you did nothing wrong or they stated that you did anything wrong. So after he tried to reach for me, I stepped back and Swim moved his arm where it's not a shove and it's not a push. It's more so that, like, if a guy reaches for you, you back up. Like, someone's reaching for your arm, you snatch away before they even get to it. So it's like I did that, but then swum over him and ran. And as I ran, I realized that I didn't do anything wrong as I'm running. So I'm just thinking, like, what did I do wrong? Like, why are they chasing me? And mind you, like, before I talked to these guys, I met someone by 7-Eleven because my phone died, and I asked him to borrow his phone. I let him hold my keys and my phone as it died. So I was like, I'm not going to take your phone. I just want to record the police officers, make sure they're not going to do anything or lie on me and say I'm doing something I didn't do. So after that, they take those guys in custody who followed me up to my car. And as I did that, it was just like, I found it a little shady because they tried to make it seem like those guys were with me, or like they knew what I was doing to do and stuff like that, but really that wasn't it. Then they tried to say I stole the guy's phone. So as I'm running from police, they're saying that they have a death on their hands, like I stole the kid's phone. But really, when I realized I had no reason to run, I did nothing wrong. Police officers came up. I saw them. When I stopped running, I just laid there, got on the ground. They started putting their knees in my back, rubbing my face against the ground, scraping up my shirt. So I'm just like, I'm not doing anything. So they had to use 2 pair of cuffs because they said that my back was wide and I was restricting them because I was flexing. But in reality, that's not what happened, because I laid there on my own, put my arms behind my back. So then after that, they saw the phone was recording, so they tried to say I was wiretapping. So I got charged with wiretapping and theft and assault an officer. And immediately that got out to the press. I got in trouble. I got suspended immediately and wasn't allowed on campus for the whole year. And then for me, as that process, I was sent to prison at night as well. And the only thing I could think about, rather than the situation, was the fact that when I got in trouble, it was more so I felt like I let my family down, the people who helped me get to where I was and helped me succeed in life and do the things I wanted to do in my life down, because I feel like those people put a bunch of time and effort into making sure I had the things I needed as an athlete, as a student, so that I couldn't complain about not having everything I needed to be successful. I had a great support. I have a great support network. I'm at a great school, and I have all the talent in the world to be wherever I decide to be, as long as I keep my head on right. And at that, I disappointed my nieces and nephews. Like, I got a bunch of people looking up to me who, when they seen that they thought that was it. And a lot of my friends thought that was it as well. So it felt like like you putting a 30-pound weight on your head and trying to balance it. Like, you got it for a while. You're balancing it for 30 minutes, but then the goal is to do it for 40 minutes. And once you hit 39, it falls off your head because you wasn't focused on keeping your back straight, keeping your posture upright, and taking each step by step. You were trying to rush your steps. You were slouching. So what I'm saying is, I wasn't focused on step by step. I allowed these things into my life to where it got me to the point to where even being around family can get you in trouble. And I had to learn that the hard way. My mom knew I shouldn't have been around him, so she was really hurt about it because she knew that he was nothing but trouble, so she didn't want me around that. But at the same time, I was like, this is my brother. Like, I don't see any harm in being around him. So that's what made me mad about the situation. But for me, the first thing I had to do as a man was to man up to my situation and realize that I had nothing to do with anything. The police officers tried to make it seem like everything was orchestrated from point A to point B, to where as soon as the club let out, my brother came with me, my brother friend came with me, excuse me, and his other friend went with him. And as I pulled around the corner, they felt like, oh, that was all orchestrated. Like, you guys knew what you were doing. Like, we grabbed your brother, you had the gun, you shot him. I'm like, shot who? Like, you can't tell me I shot anybody. First off, I was out drinking. I was blackout drunk that night. So I had some recollection at the beginning of the night, but not towards the end. So it was like, you can't tell me I did something like that, because I'm not that type of person. You can't put that image of Baltimore street thugs on every guy that's from Baltimore, because, one, I'm getting my education. I'm off the streets. I'm not selling drugs. I'm not out there gang banging like my brother and his friends were. You can't put that title on to everybody you see that's black male, because all it does is make you a prejudiced stereotype person. And to me, I feel like it broke down my true image, because it just they feel like they confine everyone that's from Baltimore to that image that every male and female from Baltimore are the same, and by that they put the word same as criminals. So I feel like the best thing to do for me was to cut those people off who were a part of my life that allowed me to do these stupid things to get me where I was, although those decisions were on me. But at the same time, no one was telling me to stay away from the city, stop going down there, stop hanging around your brother. My brother didn't say stop hanging around him. So it was more so like, you gotta make your decision that you keep these people in your life who can continue to break you down, or kick them out of your life and continue to build yourself back up and beyond and keep going in that same direction. So I feel like the best thing for me was to get myself together, cut those people off, including my family. I had to write my brother while he was in prison, let him know, like, is either you get your shit together and want to be a part of my life.